is fast becoming a pandemic in South Africa. For Newsroom Africa on Channel 405, I'm Skarama Fokwani in Johannesburg.
The country's biggest tax talk shop is underway in Ekurhuleni. The South African Institute of Taxation is hosting its 12th Annual Tax Indaba to look at everything from global tax trends post-Trump to local reforms. Let's listen in.
To deal with cross-border and domestic tax and financial crime. And ultimately, you are left with domestic resource mobilization, whether you are at a tax administration or at a metro or a municipality. Domestic resource mobilization becomes a key that we want to turn to drive the narrative better going forward. There are foundational elements for improving DRM, and we continue to look at this. And I think the indivisible nexus that exists between policy and administration is very important. And therefore, ourselves and our treasurer, the colleague, are tied at the Treasury. We are tied to the hip so that we are able to work together, cooperate in making sure that we move in this regard. Expanding the tax base is imperative. We find that there is people that are not in the tax base that must be in the tax base. And therefore, you're extracting taxes from a fewer audience as you try to deal with the debt that you have. And we want to make sure that a lot of people pay fewer taxes than few people paying a lot of taxes. And the issue of expanding the base is important. Modernizing the tax administration, as we've spoken, that's the direction we are taking. And trust beyond reproach is very important. So you'll hear us saying that there are a few things that we are doing that I'm going to touch on just now, shortly, to say we will, going forward, increase our focus on debt collection. And I think it's important I say this. I spoke about 513 billion, and I said, any board of a private company will ask the CFO and the CEO, what are you doing to extract value out of the balance sheet? And we'll focus intensely on collecting our debt. And what we are finding as we collect our debt, that there's a balance that we need to put in place. The balance between the rights of taxpayers and the extraction of the debt that we need to extract. And we are quite aggressive internally to make sure that those that collect debt in our organization understand that there is rights that taxpayers have and they must be afforded those rights. And we believe that's sacrosanct because it drives the trust dividend that we need to have between the tax administration and taxpayers. But again, it's very important that those that are paying their dues are comfortable that we are doing everything to extract the money that is sitting in our debt. So what we are finding, and I'll pause here a little bit, and I'll accelerate forward. What we are finding is that our debt that we are collecting is no longer about phoning somebody and say, you owe us money, and please pay us. It's now moving into such things as, even beyond third-party appointments, it's now moving into having to leverage such things as civil judgments and moving further towards such things as writs of execution. And we have been in the past constrained in terms of moving in the direction of beyond third-party appointments. We've just added 100 resources that are experienced legal collectors to be able to take us that way. We've also enhanced or are in the process of enhancing our litigation team because we know that people will always tend to ignore you until you get to civil judgment and until you get to attaching some assets through writs of execution. But again, we believe we should not get there.
And Ntokozo Khumalo is there. It's an important gathering just to look at the impact of what's happening globally on South Africa's tax trends. And she will unpack for us a little bit later on some of the key takeaways of that gathering there. All right, we have a lot for you at the top of the next hour, which we're